Hello, my name is Saren Dutt, and I'm here today to talk about the results I have received from my analysis on myself. Now, for this part, I contacted 6 to 8 people that I'm close with, that I know, talk to them about myself, see which areas I can improve in, which areas I'm really good at, and what areas is pretty much hopeless, like a barren wasteland. Now, the second part I did was take a disc analysis online for a class, because we had to, and it wasn't optional. And for this, we were able to talk about our decisiveness, our intuitivity, our stability, and whether we're cautious or not. Now, hence the name, DISC. For this part, I realized that I have a very high stability and a very low decisiveness. I can't make my mind no matter what. But my stability is I'm always reliable, I'm patient, and loyal and respectful. Now, these traits are what are basically my strengths, and my inability to be decisive is a weakness. Now, when I contacted my people that I'm close with, I talked about these areas of aspects, and I just got down to like the brass knuckles and really figured out which areas, or more specifically on like what parts of me was I not decisive about, and which parts were really, really a big weakness and a big gaping hole for me that I need to fix immediately. Now, the way I picked my contact list was, first I contacted some people I'm close with, like some friends from college or from home, so they would be my personal contacts. Now, as for my academic contacts, I chose a professor here that I looked up to freshman year. He was my theology professor, and he was one of the best professors I've ever had so far. Now, the second professional academic contact was my high school teacher, where she was looking after a club that I was a big part of, where I had a member, where I was a head office of, and she was also my history teacher too, and it was a very fun class, and we always talked a lot, so I was very close to her. So I know that she would always give me a candid answer no matter what I asked her. Now, as for the professional contacts, I chose a friend who I worked with actually beforehand, so it made it easier to be in professional contact with. And my last contact was my dad. He's always my role model, and he's always there for me no matter what. And he's in the same business field as I am going into, so I thought that talking to an accountant would be very helpful for me. Now, that's the whole rundown on my contact list, and in this video, I'll be talking about the strengths and weaknesses they pointed out and that I realized myself, and highlighting these key points and figuring out what aspects I can improve myself on and what I can fix upon, or what I can actually still continue to gain on today. Now, according to my DISC analysis, I have a very high S. S meaning that I'm stable. Now, under this analysis, I looked into it. For me specifically, I'm always calm and collect in every situation, whether it's very tense or very serene. Meaning that whether it's a very high tense situation, when everyone's blood pressure is rising up to the highest level possible before they explode, I'm always calm, always take my time, very patient in whatever I do, to make sure everything is done the right way and the correct way. Now, this also means that I'm also very respectful and loyal to people, and I've found these values very high in my everyday life. It is always important to be respectful to everyone that you meet, first off, until you have a better gauge on whether they actually deserve your respect or not. And it's also very important to be loyal to the people you've known longer, because the longer you know them, the more connection you build with them, the more they deserve you. Now, this way, when analyzing my DISC report, I was able to look at some key aspects of my effective communication behaviors. For this, I related to my S, where I'm stable. Now, I feel that in business life, being stable is very important, because you want to crack under pressure. You want to be able to rise to the challenge, be there for everyone else to make sure that everything is done right. Now, along with my high S, I also had a high C. I'm also very cautious. I don't take a lot of risks, but I make sure that if there is a risk, there's a great payout to it, and that the probability of it actually getting completed and being worth it is very high. Now, having the high S and high C is great behavior to have in a company. I feel, at least. Now, some of the people might argue that a high D or high I can be very important. Being very decisive is also very important, mainly for a manager or a higher level executive. But also being very interactive is also very important. The social aspect of a business is as important as being stable or cautious. If you can't work with your coworkers, you can't work with anyone else. And while I may lack in the I level, I rather work in a social environment than a closed-off environment where I'm just working by myself in a 4x4 cubicle, talking to no one any day. Now, looking at these effective communication behaviors, I realize that it's very accurate in whatever I do. On all the previous jobs I have, all the previous experiences I've done, I've always realized that I need to interact with people no matter what. And I'm always very effective in interacting with people. I make sure I'm very respectful to them no matter what. I'm also loyal to the people I interact with more. I make sure that their jobs carry more weight in my area because I know that if they really need it and they're urgent about it, they will tell me. And I can always respect the judgment and I will know the judgment to make sure that it's actually correct. Now, when looking back, I also asked some of the personal contacts I've had, and I've asked them about my effective communication behaviors. They've all said about the same things that I've seen from the DISC analysis and that I've analyzed myself from my previous experiences. They've realized that I am very loyal and very respectful. Now I feel that these effective behaviors are really what make a company efficient and will help companies strive in today's times. Some ineffective behaviors I have portrayed so far that I've been accustomed to or that I've been acknowledged by my peers and by my contact list is that I do not let things go very easily. In which case, I kind of hold a grudge on certain things, and if there's something I'm really passionate about, I always keep on pushing it until I see it through. Now, that can be good and bad because I'm very persistent, but it's also bad because it could be a really bad idea, and I just don't see it because I'm blinded by my passion. And I'm also very passive-aggressive in the things I don't let go. Now, this relates to my first ineffective behavior. Well, if I'm very passionate about it, I won't let it go until I see it through. Now, in this part, if I don't see it through at all, I will get a little passive-aggressive. I won't necessarily be direct with the person. I'll just kind of go around the bush and just be mad at him without telling him why, trying to make him figure it out. Now, this is also very bad because you want to be direct when you communicate with anyone, no matter what you're doing. So this is a very bad behavior that I should fix on immediately, no matter what I do. Now, with these two things, I find these two things are the most ineffective behaviors I have in communicating, whether it's in a business world, whether I'm working on a job, or if I'm talking to my friends. Now, these two things have been listed out from the DISC analysis I took, from my own personal recognition, and from my contact list that I've talked to. All these people have said that I'm very ineffective in the way I communicate sometimes, and these are things I should strongly work on. Now, this results video is a byproduct from my business communications class, where I look into myself about my DISC analysis and my contact list, where I figure out my strengths, my weaknesses, where I can improve on, where I don't need to improve on, or where I should really work up to make sure that I still have my edge on it. Now, I found this assignment very helpful, and I believe that with this, I can better improve myself in my everyday life.